Back at you with another episode coming at you from chooseyourrelationships.com, author of Love Can't Wait, which can be found on amazon.com. So today I have a special guest. She's a recovering corporate workaholic. After years in high pressure leadership roles at Fortune 500 companies, she traded the boardroom for the bedroom. In her hilarious tell all book, Ins and Outs of My Vagina, she recounts the mishaps and misadventures she's had over the past 40 years with a special partner in crime, her vagina. And women of all ages can relate to this raw and honest journey of first long term relationships and finding pleasure. She's also a speaker and certified life and reinvention coach, focusing on helping women transform their lives and achieve their dreams. Through her signature Edit Your Life program, she offers one on one coaching, giving women all the tools and techniques needed to conquer fears and finding their purpose. My special guest today is Karin Freeland. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so thanks for taking time to do this. So,
Yeah.
where are you from originally?
So originally I'm from upstate New York, tiny town outside of Binghamton. So if you've never been to upstate New York, it's about an hour south of Syracuse, which if you like basketball, you probably watch Syracuse Orangemen. And yeah, I grew up in a little town. There was like cows and like, lots of back roads and stuff. And that was it. Sort of simple, nothing too fancy.
So how do you get started? When did you decide, hey, I hate my job. I want to get out of this. I'm tired of this. I need a change. When did you come to, I guess, the breaking point? Say, hey, I got to get out of this.
Right. So it was like a little bit like a death by 1,000 paper cuts, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like it was just like a slow burn, like one little nick after another until all of a sudden in 2019, I kind of woke up and was like, I'm dying here. Like this sucks. This isn't what I signed up for. Who said I was going to have to work 24/7? Like I don't want a phone attached to my hip that I have to constantly be responding to. I don't want to make another PowerPoint presentation for the rest of my life. Like, this is not for me. But I was the breadwinner. So it was kind of like, what do I do? How do I get out of this? You know what I mean? Like I've sort of now got to this point where we're accustomed to this cushy lifestyle, right? And I'm the sugar mama and I'm, putting my kids through hockey and all these expensive sports and private school. And it's like, how do I unwind from that? So in the beginning of 2020, right before the world shut down, I finally had like my break point and I was like, I have to do something for myself. I have to bet on myself for once because everybody in corporate's been betting on me for years. I kept getting promoted. I kept getting pay raises. I kept getting bigger assignments, bigger jobs. And I'm like, well, they all believe in me. Why don't I believe in myself to go do something that really lights me up? So I decided to hire an editor to write my book, The Ins and Outs of My Vagina, a penetrating memoir. And honestly, at the time, I didn't even know if I was going to publish it. Like, I just was like, I said I wanted to finish this book. I want to write this, which I started in 2009. So it'd been 10 years in the making at this point. I was like, I'm going to commit to actually finishing it. And once I got that editor and we started working on the book and he started giving me amazing feedback about like how good it was and how well I was taking his feedback, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I think we're onto something. Like, I think this could really be something bigger than I ever anticipated. And so from there, it was like, I was so committed. And then finally in August of 2020, my role was eliminated. So I actually had the blessing of having my job say, okay, we're done. You're done here. Goodbye. Here's a severance package, which I'd like fantasized about for years, like, which is weird. Clearly I need some better fantasies, but like, this was like, oh my gosh, I always wanted one of these. So I lose my job and, totally over the moon about it, so excited, and was like, okay, this is it. Like, now is my chance to also start my own business and begin coaching women to show them, look, you don't have to stay stuck anymore. You don't have to follow the status quo. Even if you're the breadwinner, you can do this. You can leave and go start your business or whatever it is that you're passionate about and make your own pathway to freedom. And that's really what I do now.
So it was like a blessing in disguise.
Oh, amen. It was. It really was. And it's so funny because I know me and I, love money, right? Like it's nice to have, it doesn't make you happy. I know for firsthand, money does not make you happy, but it does make things easier. And so I know, even though I know you get it. Even though I had put sort of a date in the sand, like at the end of 2020, I am leaving corporate with or without a severance package. Like this is my deadline. I know that I probably would have gotten to 2020 and been like, maybe I'll just hang on for my bonus in April. Like maybe I'll just do a couple more months, because money's a hell of a drug. But I think the universe, God, whatever you believe in, was like, we done here, Karin. Okay. Like push me out of the nest like a baby bird getting pushed out. It was just like, nope, it's time for you to fly. You got to go.
Yeah. I always say, if you don't get the money thing handled, and I'm not talking about being rich. I'm just talking about just getting it handled in order, $1,000, $2,000 a month. If you don't have that handled outside of your job, it's just going to be too much for the average person to handle. You're not going to have time to think about doing anything else because you're too caught up into what's in front of you all the time. So money is very important.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'm all for making money. But now, instead of just being driven by the money, it's the purpose behind the money.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what value am I really bringing to other people?
Exactly.
And is it light me up? Because making PowerPoint presentations and worrying about how many marketing qualified leads came in, I was just like, I can't.
Yeah, exactly. So how did you come up with the concept of the book?
Yeah, so this is a common question, and people are shocked when I tell them it was my husband's idea.
Holy
right? You're like, didn't see that coming.
No.
So I write about it in chapter 30 called All Lubed Up with Nowhere to Go. But I will give you a little bit of the Cliff Notes version, which is I was pregnant with my first son, and I went to the OB. And for my normal checkup, like I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna look at the size of the baby. And she's like, okay, we need to start preparing your body for birth. And I'm like, okay, what is that? All right, great, let's do it. And he or she goes, okay, we need to start learning how to do I think it's called the Perineal Massage, where you take olive oil and you rub it on the inside and like the outside of your vagina so that when it spreads to let the baby out, you don't tear. And I was like, okay, I'm not doing that. But thanks for the advice, lady. And I waddle back to the car all pregnant, like we're never doing this. But as you will see, if you read the book, The Ins and Outs of my vagina, named V, who is a character in the book, is always getting me into trouble. She's either sabotaging my life or making me do stupid things. She's just crazy, right? Has a mind of her own. And so she gets bored one night and is like, we should try this. So my husband was at work. I decide to spread the olive oil and try to figure it out. But it's a disaster. I can't get my hands in the right position. Olive oil's flying everywhere. I'm falling off the tub. I'm like, we're done here. This doesn't feel good. I don't like this. This is creepy. So my husband comes home from work because he was working the night shifts. And he's like, what happened in the bathroom? Why is there olive oil everywhere? And I'm like, well, I tried this thing that my doctor recommended. And he's like, oh my gosh, Karin, you know what you should do? And I'm like, what? What, honey? What advice do you possibly have for me about what I should do? He's like, you should write a book and call it I Don't Know My Vagina. He's like, because it's clear you have no idea how this thing works. And he was always really baffled about how confused I appear to be about my own body. And at first, of course, I was thinking, well, that's dumb. Thanks for the advice again, but I'm not doing that. And I started really thinking about it. And I was like, I have had so many ridiculous vagina stories. I'm like, we actually have a book here. So I started writing, got about 40,000 or so words down before I had to go back, for maternity leave, and then got sucked into life again. But that's really how it was born. And then it just kind of like took off from there over time.
Wow. So
Yeah.
how did you think that the title would be, did you worry about the title of the book?
Of course. Oh, yes. I mean, I even worried about the whole book. Like, there was a time period where I was like, I'm not even publishing this. Like, I went in to write a book. I wrote a book. It's done. But what are people going to think about me? Like, I can't put this out there. That's like, no, classy women like me, we don't do those kinds of things, right?
Exactly.
But I kept coming back to my why, right? Why did I start writing this in the first place? And so much of my adult life, honestly, or even my childhood and like young adult, like I always felt like my body was the only one doing that. I'm the only one that's like having trouble orgasming. I'm the only one that doesn't have an awesome sex life, right? But because we don't talk about this, we feel like we're the only one. Yep. And I was like, no, if I can touch one woman's life, if I can change one woman's life or her perspective about what she should expect in life, like, then I have to tell this story. I have to share this with people. So that was sort of my courage to actually bring it to fruition. But yes, the title has caused me all kinds of problems. My ads have been blocked on Instagram. I actually let my PR person go.
Instagram? God,
Instagram.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, but I got looped in because of the word vagina with like the porn and the sex industry.
Oh, okay.
Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, the book does not disappoint in the sex department. Like, there's plenty of juicy stories in there. But it is really more about that journey to womanhood and all the experiences we have, from the joy of urinary tract infections to bikini wax nightmares, tearing after birth. I mean, it's everything that our vaginas go through in the course of our life.
Have you met people that didn't want to work with you in some capacity because they saw the book title, or they're like, oh no, I don't want to be associated with that?
Oh, for sure. I'm sure. And I'm sure it happens all the time, and I don't even know that it's happening. Yeah. They're discounting me because of that. Yeah. And it's kind of a shame, because that it is their loss at the end of the day, right? Like, I have a lot to offer. And it's interesting because when I set out to do this, I never really meant for the book to be the conversation piece.
Yeah.
It's more the backdrop. Like, me writing my book was me living my goals and finally saying, I've had enough of corporate. I've had enough of the status quo. Like, I'm not going to be in the passenger seat of my life anymore. I want to be in the driver's seat. Because for so long, life was just happening to me. Like, I wasn't in control at all. I was going with the flow, right? Whatever got put in front of me, like, I'll figure it out. But I wasn't driving. And so for me, it's like, when I started coaching, it's like, look, this was my goal. This is what I did. So I have that street cred, right? That like, I've been there, done that myself. Yeah. But what is the thing that you want to go create, and let me help you get there? So, if somebody doesn't want to coach with me because I wrote a book about vaginas, I mean, like, you're lost.
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons why I started the podcast, because, you hear the same thing every day, whether it's mainstream or even other podcasts and other channels. It's the same thing all the time, but people never really go deep. It's always the same thing every day, over and over again, but they never really get deeper into why it keeps happening. It's not like they act like one solution fits everybody.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons. And then there's some people that, they'll listen to a couple of my episodes. Mm-hmm. They'll be like, I don't think we're a good match.
Wow.
Yeah, because I'm not PG. I don't censor myself or censor anybody that comes on here, and I don't want it to be that way.
Right.
But at the same time, I understand if you're maybe you want the corporate dollars. maybe that's what you're going after, and maybe you like want the big speaking gigs. I don't want any of that stuff.
Right.
So I understand, it's like two sides, you know, and that's okay. So I don't feel offended or anything like that. But
Yeah, you gotta
sometimes,
figure out what it is that you want for you and live that life. Because if you're living the life that other people want for you or that you think you're supposed to have, that's where it all goes wrong.
exactly. So what are your friends and family? What do they think?
Oh my gosh. So my adorable husband has tried to be so supportive, and he was so cute because like a couple of months ago, right after the book launched, he was like snuck into my office and he was like, let me just read a few chapters, because he's never read the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
So he started reading and I just hear, Karin! And I'm like, what? And he's like, you wrote about the time we made the sex tape? And I was like, I might have. And he was like, oh my God, your parents are gonna, I'm like, my parents are never gonna read this. I'm like, it's fine. They don't want to read this. So, yeah. So my parents, like, obviously they're very proud of me for writing a book, following my dreams, but they 100% would have rather I write like a murder mystery or something.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Anything other than this concept, this subject matter. But what are you going to do? It's not their life. It's not for them. It was for me and for my ideal clients. So
exactly.
So that's okay.
So who is your ideal client? Who?
Yeah. So really women, well, it's a little bit varied, but most of the women that I am coaching are like, I would say between 35 and 55. They have made their money. They've chased the dream. They've reached some great titles. They are making great paychecks, but they're like, there's got to be something more. Like something's missing. I know I should be happy with what I have, but I'm not. And then I can help them figure out, well, what are your goals? Like, what do you actually want? What do you think your purpose is? And then let's own your power so that you can really figure out, like, and step into that purpose, and then build your pathway to freedom. So that's kind of what I help them with. But they're high achievers, type A personalities, working in corporate usually. I do have a couple of clients now that I have helped find love. So that's a little bit out of my normally I focus more on the career aspect. But I've been having so much fun helping these people, magnetize their ideal person, that it's been really kind of interesting to explore that.
So how long did it take you to complete the book, from the writing to the editing? How long did it take?
Yeah, over about 12 years total. So I started in 2009 when I was on maternity leave, and then life got in the way, and every couple of years I'd pick the book back up, I'd write a few more chapters, and then I got serious about it in 2019, right at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, right before the world shut down. And then I wrote, worked with an editor through all of 2020. Beginning of 2021, we really started publishing the book and getting it published ready. So getting the cover designed, the interior designed, and then we launched officially September 14th of 2021. So it was quite a process. It's a lot of effort to write a book.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I got 3. I said I'm not ever doing shit no more.
That's amazing. 3, because people come to me and they're like, well, Karin, when are you going to write the sequel? And I'm thinking, sequel? I don't know. I think I'm just going to do one. I don't know.
It's a lot of work. It is.
But it was fun. It was so energizing. Like I would come home exhausted from corporate because I was still there for a good portion of writing the book. But I would be so excited. Like I would just turn on my laptop at night. I would write and stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning. Like I didn't care if I had to get up at 5:30 again in the morning, because I was so excited about it. But I think now it's like, I don't know if I'm that excited about writing another book.
It's a lot. So when the book came out, how did you launch? What type of responses did you get?
Yeah, it's been so good. I mean, we did a physical launch at a local bookstore here in Greenville, South Carolina, called Fiction Addiction. So they were super supportive to the indie authors, which was really great. And so we had a nice turnout there. I had an amazing vagina cake made that was really classy. Oh yeah. I mean, we go big or go home, right? Gotta have a vagina cake at the launch. So that was really fun. But I have sold over 1,300 already in the first 3 months of publication, which
That's good.
I am told that only 0.0025%, like 0.0025, that's like nothing, sell over 1,000 copies when they're self-published over the lifetime of the book.
Yeah.
And I did it in 3 months. So
Yeah.
I feel really good about it.
Yeah, I remember when I published my second book, it flew off the shelf. I got like 5,000 copies in like 6 months.
That's amazing.
And I stopped counting the downloads in paperback. Now, at the time, somebody told me, they said, man, most people that have books, and they might be lucky if they sell a couple hundred copies. I said, really?
Yeah.
I said, oh my God, that's horrible.
I know. And you don't make that much money. Like,
no.
Even when you do sell a lot, like,
yeah.
And I spent a lot to produce this book. So if you read The Ins and Outs of My Vagina, I'm telling you, it is well edited. It is well proofread. It is like so well designed. The interior is gorgeous. The exterior is gorgeous. Like, I put my heart, my soul, and my bank behind it.
Yeah. So what are some of the biggest challenges you've had along the way, you think?
With writing the book, or just in general? Or
just in general?
Yeah. So, of course, confidence, right? Don't we all have that like nasty little inner critic in our head who's constantly telling us, well, who would buy a book from you? And, you're not a writer.
Well, in the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
When it's like, I'm still in corporate, I'm a marketing executive, and it's like, I don't write books. I'm not a writer. What business do I have to become a writer? Motivational speaker, really? Who's going to hire you to come and speak to their audience? Like all these negative thoughts that kind of come in and they hold you back from really stepping into your true purpose. So I think that's something that I battled with a little bit. But fortunately, with age comes a little bit of wisdom and a little bit of like not caring anymore what people think. So that's been really beneficial and helpful to kind of let some of that go. But I think it's just the stereotypes and the expectations we set for ourselves, that we think we have to live life a certain way when we really don't have to.
No, we don't. You can live life on your own terms. I know, some of the stuff, it was passed down from your parents, and that might have worked for your parents, and that's great for them.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I have to take on all of that stuff. And a lot of that stuff that was passed down is not going to work for me. Yeah, you have to.
Right.
People have to understand that. And as far as in the beginning, I was a little nervous how people would take it. Maybe they might say this book is garbage.
Right.
but I got over that because I try not to make it just about me.
Yeah.
I listen to how people respond. Like the majority have to be a macro. Can't be just 2 or 3 people might say something negative. Screw them. But if the majority of people like it, great. I listen to that. That means that's a win. So I try to think about the whole process like that. I try to not to make it about how I would feel. I just listen to the response, and if the majority like it, great. I go from there.
Yeah, and it's having that bigger purpose too. So one of the things that I did with the book is I made a, charity component to it. So a portion of the proceeds for every copy sold goes to Alliance for Period Supplies to help end period poverty and get supplies to women in need and low-income women who can't afford period products. So for me, it's like, it's not just about lining my pockets, or like providing for me and my family, but it's really going beyond that and saying like, well, but how do I give back with all the blessings that I've had in my life? And I've been able to write this book and produce this book. Like, what do I want to do with it to help make the world a better place? So yeah, I love that. And not just being about you, but what's the greater good.
Yeah. So how did you approach the writing situation? Were you sitting there thinking about, hey, I'm going to just take bits and pieces of stories of my experiences. How did you know that this would be a good idea?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I did know it would be a good idea until the way I approached it was I just started brainstorming ideas and I just started putting down all the stories that I thought were really pivotal to my learning my own body, or like what stories would women really resonate with. And so I just like put a list of those, and then I started saying like, okay, let me start with this one. And I tried to go chronologically, but sometimes, I'd be like, oh, I really feel passionate about this story tonight. I want to write about my miscarriage, for example, right? Something that no one ever talks about. So then, like I would write that story, and then I would go back and be like, oh, well, there was this time I forgot that, we like painted the house and I was pregnant with my son and I didn't know, and we got like really high off the fumes and we're like drinking beer, and like then I find out I'm pregnant like the next week. So there were like all these stories that I like just kind of wrote like randomly, but then when I like gave it to my cousin, who was my first editor, because he's an English teacher, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do anything with this, like let me just have my cousin see if he'll edit, and then we can take it to a professional editor or pitch it to someone once it's in a good enough spot. And he called me the day after I sent it, and he said, I stayed up all night long, and he read it on his cell phone.
Lord.
All the whole 40,000 some words that was written. He's like, and he's 50 years old, a guy, right? And he's like, I laughed, I cried. He goes, you're going to be on Oprah someday. And I was like, okay, like, if you love the book this much, there's no way women who are actually living and breathing these experiences aren't going to be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And it's almost all exclusively 5-star rated. I mean, I have a couple of 4 stars, and it won a Reader's Favorite Award. Got a 5-star rating from that organization, like before it was even launched, like during pre-order. So I feel really good about it. I know people are going to really enjoy it if they give it a shot.
Yeah. So where do people go get the book?
Yeah, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere digitally that books are sold. And then here in South Carolina, you can grab it at Barnes & Noble, Fiction Addiction, and Main Street Reads in Somerville, outside of Charleston, just said that they would carry it as well.
So if someone wanted to work with you, where would they go to?
Absolutely. KarinFreeland.com. And it's Karin with an I. Yep, perfect. We got it up on the screen. So go check me out there. You can check out the life coaching tab to learn all about my program. And the best thing to do is just set up a call and let's see if we're a good fit to work together.
There you have it. Like, share this episode. All links will be found in the show notes. Tell me what you think below. Until next time, we out. Peace.